Thanks very much for giving us those details, Priyanka. Let's get a move on then and also focus in on the outlook coming in for bookkeeping. OkCredit is here to talk about their digitization journey as well as the collection levels picking up. Harsh Pokharna is the CEO as well as the co-founder of the company and now joins in. Harsh, good to have you on board. OkCredit, I understand, has revolutionized the traditional process of bookkeeping. So for the benefit of our viewers, can you just help us to understand the business model and how exactly this works?
Sure. So, small businesses across the country, they extend credit to their customers, and you would have seen that they maintain the records of that on a paper book, notebook, etc., right? Which is traditionally called Bahi Khata. So what we do is we give them a mobile application so that they can record everything on the mobile, and because the application is intelligent, it sends regular reminders, transaction reminders, etc. And the main value proposition being helping them collect their money faster.
Okay, fair enough. So certainly simplifying the overall process. But in this process of digitization, have there been any hurdles that you face, and how receptive have customers and merchants really been to this digitized model of bookkeeping?
Yes, of course. When we started, there were a lot of hurdles that we faced. For example, I remember the story of our first user, right? When we actually gave him this application, he did not trust that the application will do the calculations correctly or the data would even stay. So, for example, for the first month, he used to maintain his own traditional Bahi Khata on the sides along with maintaining OkCredit. And every night he would, do the calculations on his Bahi Khata and check that with OkCredit, seeing that everything is working correctly. So there were initial issues of trust, but as we have grown, we have seen that, that social validation is very important. And when people see others around them using OkCredit and everything working fine, that barrier to trust is now much lower than what we had in the beginning.
Sure. Also wanted to understand, since your target audience comprises of small, unorganized businesses, what are the key trends that you're picking up from this particular segment?
Sure. So I will like to talk about the, the second wave that is hitting us, the COVID second wave. So what we had seen initially, from the COVID first wave, was that there was a steep drop in business transactions, but then the economy began recovering. In fact, in February 21, we saw 9% more business transactions than February 20, right, which was even before the pandemic. So we saw that the economy was recovering and we were also getting into the growth phase. But again, with this second wave happening, it's been a scare for the MSMEs, to be honest. And, now again, we are seeing transactions dropping. For example, in April first week, we saw, 10% less transactions happening than March first week. Also, data is coming out from CAIT, which says that around 50, there's been a drop in 50% footfalls in small retail stores, 30% drop in business in just the last 1 week.
Okay. How is that you're analyzing the current environment in terms of what are the trends from tier 2 as well as tier 3 cities and how collections are shaping up?
Yes. So, initially, the tier 1 cities were hit the most, right? And compared to tier 2 and tier 3, where tier 3 were hit the least. So, of course, the growth has been more in tier 1 because they were hit the most. This time, we are seeing more effect on tier 3 compared to the last time. And collections, of course, are taking a hit because, it's time of uncertainty. In the first place, even credit giving behavior takes a hit in times of uncertainty. And because of the economic conditions, even collections are taking a hit.
Okay, and give us a sense, Harsh, as to how you're looking at the overall competitive environment as well, because it is a fairly under penetrated industry in terms of other players offering similar solutions.
Sure. So, it's like our view here is that like Indian retail segment or like Indian MSME segment like is a fairly large space for like multiple companies to compete in, and for us, like merchant lock-in is the primary thing versus like growth in vanity metrics, because we believe that the winner, like the long-term winner in this segment, will have this unique capability of locking in the merchants with their products, because that is when any meaningful monetization can happen in the future. So that is like our focus and like our strategy to win in this competitive market.
Okay. And what is the growth prospects of the company going forward? Can you brief us about what the industry size is currently at and what kind of opportunities you foresee?
Sure. So, like especially like we saw adoption of digital tools accelerated by the COVID first wave, right? And like even this time around, when the second wave is hitting, what we are seeing that while there's less customer footfalls or there's drop in business, but the businessmen this time are more prepared, right? And have already learned how to cope up with this situation. So we are now again seeing like even more accelerated adoption of digital tools. Like in that regard, along with OkCredit, we also launched OK Shop and OK Staff as two other offerings during the first wave of pandemic, for which we are seeing increased adoption now, because these merchants are now more aware of how to deal with the pandemic and are more relying on digital tools. So definitely like for us the prospects are good, and like we are seeing accelerated use of our tools.
Appreciate your time. Thanks much for joining in and giving us a view as to what this overall digitization of bookkeeping as an industry looks like, as well as for OkCredit in particular. Let's take a very short break. Be right back with lots more.